Yeah.
There you go. Hi, Alyssa.
Yeah.
Hi there.
All right, everything good on your end?
Everything looks good here.
All right, we'll get going then. Okay, good evening. I hereby call this meeting of the City of Kingston Finance Budget Committee and Council in order. Tonight, of course, is just discussion of budget issues. We have three main things on the docket. One is talking about the budget for building and safety. The second is the budget for fire. And the third item will be discussing the tax cap issue. Since we're looking at increasing our taxes above 2-something%. All right. Any questions before we get started? No, everybody's so excited. Okay.
Let's get started.
Here we go. Steve, you want to join us at the table over here? Steve Knox from Building and Safety. He's here to justify his numbers. Is there anything here that stands out for you that you want to alert us to?
I think, I think the budget fairly, it's pretty much the way it was last year was, you'll see a decent increase for, pay, which is mostly contractual raises.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, there's not going to be any huge variables on the expensing. You will see a pretty sizable increase for revenue.
We like that.
I'm sorry?
We like that.
How are you gonna do that?
Well, the increase in revenue is,
Because it is, yeah, it's.
yeah, so the revenue this year is actually going to be above what we had in the budget for next year and stuff. I do think that we are seeing a little bit slowing in the housing market, but construction remains strong and is expected to remain strong at least through the first half of next year. So I think our construction numbers and our increased enforcement on violations and the fees associated with that, along with us really getting our commercial property inspection program going this year, is why we're seeing the increase we have, and it should be sustained going into next year.
You have enough staff to do what you need to do?
We have, I think we're at a good place for our staff. We certainly will have a part-timer, we're in discussions with the mayor about possibly turning it to a full-time position. I think we will kind of revisit that later next year and stuff, as some of the new housing complexes start to come online and stuff, and it'll be necessary for us to increase that staff so that we can keep up with the amount of inspections that are going to be required for new units coming online.
And what about your clerks?
Are you at the point where, I'm sorry, were you John Conji?
No, I was just asking, he has new staff and he's gonna bring on another one. How are you doing in that department?
I
I mean, because I know the work is very
It
detailed.
It is, Gene, but we're hoping to, with the new add-ons that we're for our software program that we're getting ready to increase, it's gonna help to make some of the work that the clerks are doing a lot more efficient and stuff, so it'll give us a little bit more space for them to move into the inspection.
I guess that's where I was heading, you know.
Yeah.
Are you, I'm presuming you got a backlog. I mean, everybody's got a backlog, but are you at a point where you're comfortable dealing with that, or would a new person help with that? Do you have that kind of volume of work that you might need another person to keep the backlog under control?
I think I'd like to see how effective, adding new software is and let that get in place before, I would probably look to increase this, clerk staff and stuff, but, so, if I can reserve, that comment for a while until we see how effective that is.
Yeah, could, please keep us informed. I mean, that's certainly a good way to go if we can accomplish that with software instead of warm bodies.
Yeah, and the part-time guy is, you make that position a full-time position?
Well, we hope to, look at that again, at some point next year, especially when some of the projects that are in the process right now start to get closer to coming online.
Good.
It looks like you're upping the retirement fund. Is that, are you expecting more retirements, or is this related to inflation or something, insurance?
That's a number that my department comes up with. That's the city's contribution towards the New York State retirement system. So we're given the rates by the retirement system, and it's just a percentage of salary that we have to pay for each employee. We do an average, weighted average percentage, and we factor that in the every budget. But you will see throughout the budget, the retirement system costs did go up year over year. You also see the same thing with health insurance. So even where personnel is the same, you'll see bumps in both. Will be the factors, putting pressure on the budget.
The amount of work that's coming out of your office as a ex-employee is tremendous, and it's wonderful.
It certainly has increased a lot since I started.
It's all you.
It's a good one. It's not a bad thing. We put together, it's taken a little while, but we put together a pretty good team. They're getting a lot of work.
Steve, did you have any questions for Steve?
I jumped
yours in?
back in there.
Okay. Anything else?
On Zoom, there's some questions.
Hi, Michelle.
Hi. Hi, everyone. Hi, Steve.
Hi. How are you?
Hi. Thanks for being here. I just had a question about violations, like revenue from violations and where that is, what line?
Well, all our revenue is in the
45.
yeah. So, 3620, 022. That's all building department fees. I mean, I can certainly provide you with a breakdown of different accounts and stuff, or how we track it, departmentally, but, for deposit purposes, it's all in that. And then the short-term rental is the only thing that's broken out.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Drew, do you have any questions?
No questions.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Steve.
Yep.
All right, and I think you're out of the hot seat.
Okay. Thank you very much.
That's on our appreciation to everybody in your department who's doing all this work.
Thank you guys for the work you do.
He called this work.
It is work, huh?
These ain't my day, my seat for a day. Do you want these are twos?
Sure.
This is all then, this is it?
All right, Chief? All right. So, major change in your department, of course, this is the ambulance. So I'm thinking that that's, a major issue here, but what about just in the regular old fire department?
Old fire department.
Any big changes there?
There's nothing really big change in the fire department side of it now. If anything, what you see in the change variance is in 479. Comptroller combined 2 accounts into 1. So that's why that. So you see 1 count 211 to 0, and then all that is budgeted there when you 479. That's the only thing different there. There's nothing really mostly different. Everything else for income is with MOA, contract agreement.
Right, so that's insurance, went up pretty
Correct.
quickly.
Yeah.
Because the department's out of contract yet for this year,
Correct.
so you don't see contractual increases in the pay for the fire department.
Okay. But that's, keep in mind, it'll come down the road.
Well, right, I mean, there'll be collective bargaining and all likelihood there will be an increase there that will have to factor in the future budget.
Okay, I see too that there's this federal assistance, 44,589. And that's going away. What was that? So that's different from the American Rescue Plan.
No, it
Or
was,
is it
it was the federal rescue plan money that was help subsidizing the mental health, ambulance.
Okay. Is the money that we paid, I know it's in New York State, there was money that came through for firefighters that was appreciation pay. Is that represented here?
No, because that's, the way that's been done is it's been, Natalie's come to the council with a budget transfer, because it's a kind of a 2-sided entry. It's, we recognize the grant revenue and then basically the bonus expense. But we've been doing that kind of on an ad hoc basis as she's submitting those applications.
All right. So I'm gonna have the ambulance discussion second, so.
Okay.
If there's anybody who's got questions about the fire department part, that is up to line 44,589.
Rennie, I have a question.
Yes,
It's on the fire department's budgets. There's EMT differential 2 times. There's 2 different lines.
You'll see it, Michelle, you should see it in 3410 and then also in 4540. Because 4540 is now the ambulance. So you'll see the EMT differential both for the ambulance workers as well as the firefighters who were assigned to an apparatus.
Okay.
there's also this one here.
Because everybody's certified.
Yeah, that's the firefighter. And then on the 3rd page of that, you'll see the EMT differential. Yeah, you'll see a lot of the same pay lines for Department 3410 for the firefighting as you will with the 4540, which is the ambulance.
Okay.
We broke it apart where there's 53 on the firefighter side and there's 17 on the EMS side.
Yeah, so basically, Michelle, we took the fire department budget, which was for 2024, it was all combined. And for 2025, we separated out the workers who are assigned to the ambulance and all the costs related to the ambulance in a separate bucket. That way we can track the revenues and expenditures more clearly. And, the council, the public can see, what is what does the operation of the ambulance look like, fiscally for the city.
Okay, I see the difference now. It just said fire, so I assumed it was all the same thing, but now I see the 34 and then the 45. Thank you.
All right. Anything else relating to the fire department budget?
The, we have insurance recovery, which is zero. 2680. In the fire department side. I'm just curious about that. I got read that right. 2680, yeah, 3410, 2680, insurance recovery. In 2023, it was 189,681, and it's nothing,
What's the number in the second column?
2680.
The question,
So you're looking at the
he's
budget.
looking at the budget book.
Oh, okay.
So that can be two different things. It can be, they're basically both one shots. And that's why we typically don't budget for them. One is if it's a piece of equipment that's damaged,
Oh, I see.
and then we get a reimbursement. So then typically, so typically in that case, if that happens, like an apparatus gets damaged, we would do a budget transfer for the revenue for the insurance recovery, and then on the expense side for the repair. Also, if there's a firefighter who's injured, there's workers' comp reimbursement, the chief would come in, he would submit a reimbursement or a budget request to recognize that revenue and then put money typically back into regular payroll over time. Yeah, so.
Okay, thanks. Yeah.
And how are you in terms of personnel on the fire department side?
Well, right now we are at 65. We have one more we're to hire for the MOA. We're just waiting for them to graduate
Okay.
from the paramedic school, pass the paramedic test. And then right now, my plan is by mid-January, I discussed it with the mayor today, by mid-January, looking at the list to hire. And by then, the students will have taken their New York State exams, which then they're the paramedic, which need to come on. When we hire them, we can go right out on the street as paramedic.
Okay.
So then that boosts us to 69, which is the number of personnel total in the budget, personnel wise, at 69.
All right. If there are no more questions then regarding the fire department side, we can move to the ambulance side. How are you feeling about where we are with the budget here and the general rollout, if you will, of the ambulance service?
The general rollout of the ambulance is, well, we were gonna go with 2. And then we started using mental health bus more and more.
Mhm.
Then we got a 4th one, because now we have one to replace if we need servicing. We didn't have anything to replace it. And just Friday night, the 4th one ran out on calls.
Oh.
So, right now, everything we have is used equipment. So, it's important that we have that backup one, the 4th one, as a, we'll go out on the 4th call, yes, do I expect it to, yes, we do. I didn't think it was this way. It was only been in service for a week, and, there's Friday night, it's out and about. So, so do we have enough ambulances now? Yes, we do have enough ambulances. As we sit right now. But again, they're used ambulances.
They all stopped.
They're fully stocked. There will be 3 paramedics, 3 paramedic ambulances, 1 BLS, which is mental health. So that would actually in turn, like during the day, like today, when the 3rd ambulance went out. We had spare ambulance to go out instead of taking a mental health bus. So that the clinician can now leave her stuff in the mental health bus and stay instead of doing a crow shuffle. Because we have to go on emergency call with it. So that allows a lot easier transition to that
And then,
and that's what we do.
I guess you've got a.
You want me to do ambulance, what's the lead time?
There are some out in Syracuse that are on the lot.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's becoming that's becoming a common thing, the people that are dealing with them,
Yeah.
that they're ordering, they have the capital that they order, have one or two sitting on the lot, but if someone needs one right away,
That's good.
where you go, so.
And how much do they?
It'd be like 250. I don't know, it's the, and then we got it outfitted, with the stretcher and so forth.
How's your vehicles generally? Everything in pretty good shape, or we,
No, our front two pieces, both medics they're both 2016s, they're in good shape.
yeah,
They're in good shape. We're gonna boost up the suspension on one a little bit. But the mental health van is in very good shape. You know, at least that goes out, and that the least amount of miles on it when we first purchased it and so forth. And the backup is the very first one that we purchased. So it's kind of oil lead that we believe we know where it's coming from, and we're gonna have, mechanic work on it and so forth. But I'm hoping you through the whole winter.
Do you send them out or do the mechanics for the city work on them?
Right now, we would either send them to, there's an outfit down in Marlboro that works on ambulances, who's working on ambulances. It's tricky because of how you gotta remove 3 or 4 things, because the engine is so compact within the front nose of it. You gotta move 3 or 4 things just to get to the item you need to work on. But, there's a place down in Marlboro we've sent it to, we sent it to Premier, and we have, Mike Fitzgerald working.
No.
Right now, we put the shape of them with all new tires and everything like that. I feel good for winter.
Mhm.
I feel good.
Did you have any questions about, we separated the fire department side from the ambulance side?
Okay.
Did you have any questions about the fire department before we finish up with the ambulance part?
Nope.
Okay, any questions about the ambulance part?
Nope.
You have $1.5 million in for your company, right? Yes, is that a conservative estimate? Is that I don't know, I have no frame of reference, I don't know,
I think it's a good reference, it's a good, when we had the research done, they were going for anywhere from 1.2 to 1.7 in the ballpark there. This year, at the very beginning, we couldn't really collect until we got going, and it was mid-summertime. And then we couldn't collect for the mental health patients either because it was on a grant. Now, 2025, we collect on everything. We have Medicaid, Medicare in place. We have the other private insurances in place. We have the VA in place. And even we have the transport mental health person that is available. So interns, as of today, as I speak, we have 3,911 EMS calls, which created 4,346 PCRs. That's the billable part of it. So, and we're working very diligently with the collection agency. Since we started billing, things have calmed down with the phone calls and so forth. People don't know exactly what's going on and so forth. But we going out of the gate in January, we're collecting on everything. So that 2025 will give you a real good true number, especially with the budget being broken down, fire and EMS. It'll give you a good number of how much maintenance costs, how much fuel costs, how much you collected, and all the supplies for the paramedic supplies, the ALS supplies, the drugs and the IV solutions and so forth. So this will really give you, we divided out a very good number at this time next year. We say, no, these numbers are what's we're gonna hit. But 1.5, I feel good with 1.5.
This is back to the fire department, sorry.
Yeah,
We recovering the insurance money from fires?
not from fires now.
Okay.
We didn't go for that. The money we recover for on the fire side is for foils, fire reports, fire hazmat calls, and confined space calls.
Michelle?
Hi, thanks, chief. A lot of great work. I know that ambulance in the billing is a lot. I'm just curious about the billing company and how much that costs and what line that's under.
I think that is, they take their,
You're saying,
I think that's netted into revenue, Michelle. Their percent is, I can tell you what it is,
4.25,
4.25, maybe.
something like 4.5.
Yeah.
So they don't take any flat fee, it's just percentage?
It's a percentage of collections, yeah.
Okay. And Chief, how much work is it to get the PCRs in? Like, how much time does that take or following up on them?
There's a minimal amount of time right now. Deputy Hyatt does that. In January, he's gonna change it with Deputy Hyatt's gonna become a EMS coordinator, which he'll be working days, which then he'll be on, on schedule doing that. The only thing we've really been having problems with is our software. Software that we utilize for the PCR. Because there's some days, I get notified every time PCR is rejected by collections. It doesn't transfer through. So some days, I can go for days without get any of them, then days like 6, 8, 10 of them show up. And then he'll backtrack it back to the product, it's actually the computer, the system, the software. Where it's, one day it's working fine, it's transmitting over the internet to them. Then the next day, for some reason, a bug comes up and it's missing the signatures. I get like 18 reports of signatures missing. It's like, there's no way they could have missed 18 signatures, no way. But they just didn't carry through when the information transfers. So once they put it in the PCR, the end of the PCR is 100% completion on it, then it's gone off to them. So we're working on those bugs, but it's not on our side, it's on the PCR, it's Instrend, is the name of it, it's on their side.
Michelle, just to answer your question, I just looked up the agreement, it is 4.25%. And then for Medicaid claims, it's just $10 per claim.
Okay. All right, thank you.
4.25 for non-Medicaid, $10 for Medicaid.
So we make more picking up old people, that's good.
You pick up anybody, you pick up, that's what we do.
Anything else? Other questions, comments, enthusiasms?
Good job, thank you.
We have that.
Yeah.
About the capital plan?
Yeah, that's what we're moving on to now.
Okay.
2 items for the fire department on the capital plan. Some equipment there. Turnout gear.
Right, starting to replace out of the, we'll go back to the original 53 members. I have to start updating their turnout gear, some of them going with 2017 vintage. That's just taking it's wearing. This is wearing, so, attempting to, if I can replace 10, 15 sets a year, then you don't get hit with one big bill at the end, which would be a 6 figures.
And windows, is that software or actual windows?
No, that's actual windows. We're company 3. Those are the windows, those are the original windows of company 3.
Mhm.
1970s, and you've been down there, Jeannie, the wind blows on the back side of it, and just, my son have glass there. So.
It's very cold.
It's just the windows? It's not like, are there like concrete insulation in the walls?
No, it's the windows, it's a single pane glass, aluminum framing.
Okay.
Old, very old style, again, 70s, old 70s style.
So you go with double pane instead?
Oh, yeah. Everything's gonna be energy conservative.
Okay.
0.0 energy conservative.
Any questions, concerns with either of those items?
What's that?
What do you do?
Oh, no, I was looking at just a couple vouchers that were sitting there. You've seen.
Let's get rid of those. These are his fault.
Okay, I'm hearing no questions, no further questions for the chief. comments, observations?
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thanks for your support.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
See this one.
Yes, thank you for all your hard work, you and your team. Do a great job.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chief.
Yes, Sarah.
Thank you, but my dogs are barking.
Is, but she's not present as a real person. All right, so the last thing on the docket here is to discuss the process that we have to go through since we are theoretically going to go beyond our tax cap limit. And so there's a pretty strict timeline that we have to follow. So I'll turn it over to John for that.
Sure. Well, I will give you my understanding. I really would prefer to defer to Corp Counsel and Andrea. I've given them both the material. My understanding is that the council must pass a local law with a 60% majority on or before the time the budget is adopted. To pass the budget as it stands now. I will hand out, this is, pass out, this is just a calculation of the tax cap. Currently, this budget is, according to my calculations, is $612,225 over the property tax cap. They call it the 2% tax cap. In all reality, it's generally more than 2% a year. There's a number of factors. You can see the calculations pretty involved. Basically, you're allowed to raise it by the lesser of 2%, or the inflation for the past year. In this case, it's 2%. If you have a carry forward of the tax cap from the prior year, you get to carry that forward. You get some allowable increase for growth in your assessed value. So we have some growth there. There's some adjustments for pilot revenue, for increases in the retirement system costs. But at the end of the day, this budget would call for a tax levy that's $612,000 over the cap. So, I propose, based on this budget, that the council move forward with adopting the local law. Time is of the essence to make sure that that gets done prior to the adoption of the budget. I would recommend going forward, and there are municipalities that do it. Don't ask me to quote who does it, because it's come up in conversations at my finance meetings at the state level. There are municipalities that, as a right of, just on an annual basis, they override the tax cap every year, whether or not they intend to override the cap. Because when you override the cap, if there's any adjustments or anything that would have to be adjusted in your tax cap calculation, you're kind of protected. It's like built-in insurance by overriding the cap. I'm human, not to say I try not to make errors, but it's always possible, right? So when you override the cap, there's no issue, no look back ever if, the state came back and, audited your tax calculations for some period of time. And they have looked at ours in the past, and there was no issues, but, I would recommend going forward that the council adopts a tax cap override each year, regardless of whether or not we intend to. This year you have to, if we intend on passing a budget of, that resembles what the mayor's put forth.
So we have to, then does that mean like a special meeting before our November meeting? Maybe pass through.
It's local law, right? But you have to have the
it's got to go through 2 votes.
Yeah, that part I'm not.
Yeah, so I was thinking we didn't have that done by December. So I'll check with Andrea about,
Okay.
because we might be able to do it at the regular finance meeting. That might be the best thing, actually. Do it at the regular finance meeting. on,
That's next week, right?
next
Do
week.
you need a committee report here?
Not out of here, this would be for the regular finance committee meeting.
Okay.
So,
What?
in the language for the local law, do we put any numbers in, or we just say we're passing, local law to allow a tax cap if needed?
Yeah, I don't think you need, the materials that I have seems flexible as to the language. I don't think you need to put numbers in because there's municipalities that override the tax cap before even having numbers.
Okay, thanks.
But it has to be in place prior, it's clear it has to be in place prior to the adoption of the budget. It could be the item before the budget adoption at the December meeting.
$600,000 over the tax cap.
Right, so, some of my constituents are often confused because they feel like their city taxes have gone up every year, but they're looking at their assessments. And so how much on average would you say does a change in assessment affect somebody's actual payment?
I mean, that's tough because it really, when the city is not raising taxes, what would affect what someone's paying in taxes? I mean, if you're just looking, you have to look just the city piece, right? I don't speak to the county or school piece. It would be how much did your assessment change percentage-wise on your property versus the assessments as a whole? So, right, so like, if the assessments went up 3% as a whole, but your assessment went up 4%, you're gonna see a tax increase. So let's say the tax levy is flat, right? It doesn't go up. And then assessments went up 3%. If your assessment on your property went up 1%, you're gonna pay less. If it went up 4 or 5%, you're gonna pay more.
But somebody else's tax would have gone down relatively. Because
Correct, we're collecting the same amount, we're not talking about 25 budget, we're talking about, the last several years where, we did not increase our levy. The overall amount of taxes collected was the same year over year. It's just some paid more, some paid less. It just depends on what happened with your property with its assessed value. It also depends on the shift between homestead and non-homestead, right? Because they're not always equal. In years where the homestead is going down a little bit, non-homestead's going up a little, the non-homesteads may pay a little bit more, right? So, it's hard to generalize it, but it would really depend on individual circumstance, but where the tax levy is not going up, it really boils down to the base proportions, homestead, non-homestead, and then that individual property's assessment relative to the average.
And then the county has consistently increased the taxes that they collect, right? Over the last 10 years, say.
I would have to look at their numbers. I mean, not so much. I think you've seen a little more in the school.
Well, I'm just saying, because since people pay their county taxes through the city tax bill, that's the thing. Some people have said my taxes have gone up every year. But in effect, they may be referring to their county taxes, not clear that that they're actually paying the county and the city taxes when they pay to the city.
I would have to see the bill.
Okay.
And then, for specific property, we can look at any property on a case-by-case basis.
I'm just trying to help folks understand why it is over the last 8 or 9 years, we haven't increased the tax levy, but the percentage that they pay may have changed a little bit.
It's for the reasons I said. It's for the base proportions. That is one, right? The base proportion is over the last several years, we've been shifting a little more tax to the homestead properties away from the non-homestead to get the percentage of tax paid by homesteads more in line with their actual percentage of their assessment. So the homestead, by default, that would increase the homestead, residential properties taxes. Outside of that, it would simply be based upon their own assessment. But I would imagine the base proportion would be almost a little more of a factor. And
Yeah, Mike.
If, I believe for apartment buildings, we charge a non-homestead rate for 4 or more units.
I think it's more, I think Dan Baker should answer this, but I think 1 through 4 is still non-homestead. 5 or up, I think is, or 1 through 4 be homestead, 5 or more be non-homestead.
And if, say, like an LLC were to buy multiple single-family homes, are those still counted as homestead?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and just to give you an idea, you know, even like this year, so this year, the base proportion. Right, so the proposal would be another slight shift more towards homestead, away from the non-homestead, which would mean slightly more of an increase for the homestead versus non-homestead. And that's just the way that calculation works, the assessor. I mean, that's with no shift, like in the last year, we've done a 20, with a 0 shift. It moves more of the tax to the homestead versus the non-homestead. And yeah, that's been part of the factor in the last several years.
So the limits, the numbers that Michael's talking about, that cut off at 4 units, or individual houses owned by the same LLC, are those limits set by the state, or is that something that we can alter here at the city level?
When you say the limit as to
So 1
how they're
through 4.
treated, homestead or non-homestead?
Yeah, so if units 1 through 4 are treated as homestead, but then above that is treated as non-homestead, is that limit, that 4 units, is that something that we decided here, or is that state law?
That would be a Dan Baker question.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe something's decided here, but that does answer the question.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, but if like, you know, once again, for the 25 budget, you're looking at 56.77% of the taxes being paid by homestead, 43.23 paid by non-homestead, although homestead is 66.77% of the roll. Or 66.77% of the roll, but they're paying 56.77% of the taxes. So homesteads are still paying 10% less taxes than their assessment. That gap used to be greater. So we've been shrinking that gap, and I don't think the council's ever, you know, decided on, what that number should be, but the gap has.
And so, I don't know if people are aware, there was a political decision like in the 90s, early 2000s?
Before my time here, 2007, so.
So the state allowed municipalities, you all know this, stop me, but the state allowed municipalities to, in a sense, flip non-homestead and homestead rates. And when the idea was to reduce the taxes on the people who own their homes. The problem is that then put a very big burden onto non-homestead properties. And they were paying way out of whack. So it's great for the property owners who theoretically, for the homeowners who are voters, but it then put a real undue burden on a lot of businesses. And so this is when John's talking about trying to bring that back into proper proportion, we're still, in a sense, paying for that shift. Figuratively, though. Okay. Yes. Your brows furrowed. Noises. Okay. So anyway, and so that's when we're talking about homestead versus non-homestead, we've been moving those numbers, trying to slowly, because we don't want to like shock anybody, with because if we did it all at once, it would mean like thousands and thousands of dollars added onto some people's tax bills.
Yeah, I mean, and my records on what I have since I started here, going back to 2009, to show you gradually, right? The gap between the homestead assessed value and the percentage of tax that they pay is currently at 10%. Going back to 2009, which is 16 years ago, the gap was 20%. So we've closed that gap significantly, but it's been very gradual. Less than 1% a year. And I would suspect that that adjustment is going to continue to slow as we get closer to the actual the percent of tax being paid getting closer to the actual assessed value.
Okay, any
So
questions?
is that gonna be enough time if we do that? Because council will be over, that would mean that would carry through to the next month before we get full council.
It has to be adopted full council at the December meeting.
Okay.
That local law has to be passed in place
All right,
for the
So
law.
then
So that's why-
Agenda for the council meeting next week.
Yes, we can put it on the agenda for the finance committee, regular finance committee meeting next week.
Well,
If
yeah,
it
but I think
passes
she
there,
was,
because then we would be voting on it.
December.
Oh, yeah, that is December. Right?
yeah, I think Andrea's intention of getting it here was to get it before the council meeting, right? I don't,
So we could pass a report tonight for the next council meeting.
Yes.
did you have it for the November council meeting?
Well, we'd have to have a special council meeting. And I believe then that has to happen 2 weeks before the other one. I think there has to be like a clear gap. Or the other thing is might be able to have a second one in December.
Right.
Is Andrea, are you present? Because all we see is Drew, he's hogging up the screen.
Yeah, I mean,
It looks good though.
a special council.
Is not logged in.
Okay, thank you, Liz.
Rennie, isn't about the special meeting in our rules about the criteria for calling?
I don't know. I think, I'm trying to remember what Andrea was saying about it. I was looking, I could not find an email about it.
She did send an email the last couple of days about it.
Okay, let me see if I can find it again. Anybody remember what it was called?
That was about a potential veto.
It's bad, you know.
This is Barbara Graves Poller. Logged in. Okay, so I need to call an extra common council meeting in December. As you know, we will pass our budget version. If there's that's about the veto.
I have an email, she wrote to all the aldermen, says, hi all, because the proposed 2025 budget exceeds the New York State property tax cap, common council must create a local law to approve this override. Since you know local laws are a longer process, we need to start the process as soon as possible. The local law must be in place before it passes the budget itself. Therefore, I have placed a local law on the November 4th finance meeting. Please be prepared to discuss.
So that's this meeting?
It was on this.
That's this meeting.
Yeah, I'm prepared to discuss.
We discussed.
Right,
Discussing
we
it.
did that. Okay, that way.
What date is that email?
Well, this was from the October 30th.
And what's the title of it? Agenda item?
Agenda item heads up. I can forward it to you too.
I got it here.
Okay.
So,
Well,
could
do
we
you,
pass a report tonight?
do you have language?
I mean, for the purpose of the committee report, I could just draw something up.
If you would, let's do that.
Okay.
We'll be better safe than sorry, as nobody in my family likes to say.
There's $124,000 in the building department, take down abandoned buildings.
For years.
Who does that?
That would be,
Did the engineer do it?
we'll take down the
Who's
book.
the contractor?
I do the,
Does the contract?
and it goes right to a corporation council. That's when we did was when, what's his name was the mayor.
Oh, really? That long ago? Okay. Well, we could do
He
it.
told me a couple of names as a mayor.
Gallo.
Yeah.
Well, we could do it. Or he could.
Yes, we can do it. It was, yes, there's been money in it.
That's good.
Rennie, I just checked the rule about the special meetings and it's a 48-hour notice.
Notice, yes, but what about the length of time between two council meetings?
It's per the charter. It's not in our rules. It doesn't say anything about that.
Okay, thank you.
I would think it's pretty tough, don't we?
No, you don't, no. Not before. We took down 3 buildings before.
Before we own
You waited,
it. Like if somebody's banned it for taxes and we take it for taxes,
and it's in that bad of shape.
you know, we have the money to take it down.
Yep.
So it's not a hazard. It's like Fairview.
Right,
Rennie,
Yes, listen.
since you're discussing the timeline with the local law, just also remember that the mayor has to have a public hearing
No, it's a big process.
and there has to be the proper notice.
Do you know at what stage that has to happen?
So it's after the second reading and the vote. So then we schedule the public hearing. It has to be within 10 days. And then you would sign it and it would be sent to the state.
So we're looking at something like
Secure.
passing this tonight, having perhaps a special council, full council meeting to vote on it later in November, then voting, having the second reading at the December meeting, which would give the mayor time to have a public hearing by the, 12th or so of December, 12th of November.
Rennie,
14th.
Rennie, I'm going to interrupt you. So
Interrupt.
if you pass it tonight, it will be on caucus for Thursday. So the first reading would happen on Tuesday. So your special meeting would be the second reading and vote. And then the mayor can have the public hearing and pass it before the December meeting, which is when you want to vote on the budget.
Yes, that's what we need, that's what we need.
So, I'm sorry, when would the special council meeting be?
Would have to be between the November council meeting and the December council, meeting. So it'd have to be before Thanksgiving.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I thought I heard something different.
I'd recommend discussing with Andrea and Barbara, Grace Pollard, just to.
Well, we'll pass this tonight and then we can figure out the details of the other. Lord knows we got plenty of meetings planned already throughout November, so.
Welcome back.
So Michael, I'm going to deputize you to be a member of the finance committee. Is that okay?
I am.
That makes it easy. Sorry. Oh, I'm sorry, I was thinking of the lesson. Okay, let's read all right, hey, peanut gallery.
Friday? Sorry,
You have a meeting in?
I don't know why I keep interrupting on.
The report reads, request a local law that would authorize the city of Kingston to adopt a 2025 budget with a tax levy that exceeds the amount allowable under the New York State property tax cap law. Do we have a motion to approve?
Motion.
Motion by Gene Edwards, second by
I'll second.
Bob Andrews.
By Drew Andrews.
The second and third. Is there any discussion?
Second.
Hearing no discussion, I'll call for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Actually, so, well, no, Drew, you did not publicize that you'd be phoning it in, right?
Could you repeat that for me?
You didn't publicize that you would be attending this meeting virtually, right?
No, I did not.
So you're not officially on the ballot here. Okay, we've got actually 3 actual members, so.
Rennie, what do you mean by publicize?
In order to vote, you have to have said, if I understand things correctly, you would have to,
You have to get permission.
you would have to let people know where you are.
Right.
Before
there's-
48 hours in advance.
We're not going by the same rule
What do you
that's
mean?
been in place.
True.
I think that's an open meetings rule, state rule.
Yeah, it was amended for people to continue online.
But there's a process. You
Yeah,
have to do a process. When I'm done, you have to go to, you gotta talk to Andrea. And I think you have to talk to,
yeah. It's all right. We've got
Okay.
members here, so we're in good shape. All right. So anyway, all in favor? Sorry.
Again.
Anyone opposed? No one opposed? Passes unanimously. So just cross out, have some people put your names in, okay? All right, is there anything else? Any other issues, concerns, questions people have? Well, we've got John here. If not, he's got to be.
I certainly plan on it.
Fire department.
All right. So our next meeting is the regular finance meeting, but we will also, it's the day after Armageddon. And we will also be talking about the budgets for the wastewater treatment plant and the Department of Public Works.
When is it?
That's on Wednesday, the 6th. We'll have caucus then on Thursday, the 7th.
Oh,
Veterans Day is on Monday, the 11th. Then we have Common Council meeting on the 12th of November. Oh. So we should be able to vote on that meeting, right? Our November meeting is on the 12th.
That's the first read.
If I have the first reading of that meeting.
public hearing on the 13th.
Well, no, there's, City Hall is the thing on the 13th.
I don't think it's a public hearing.
The City Hall budget.
So you'll get that committee report
It's not a
to
public hearing,
Andrew
it's just a meeting.
or whoever needs.
Elizabeth. Yeah.
All right.
What's it about?
Business park.
Oh, I'm interested in that. I'll go to that.
All right, so just be aware then, we'll have a finance meeting also for City Hall budget on Wednesday, the 13th at 6:30. We have another meeting for Parks and Recreation. And actually, we're going to be switching civil service, I think, with the clerk. Is that right, Alyssa?
Yes.
Budget on the 13th again? Is that what you said?
That's City Hall budget. Actually, let me change this.
It says the finance, right?
14th is another budget.
Yeah.
That will not be.
And then Monday, the 18th is Kingston's Police Department and the Comptroller. And the 19th will then be, what's a City Hall too? And then the 21st, Thursday, the 21st is the budget review. And then keep open Monday, the 25th. If there's a lot of changes that we want to do, we can't get that all done in that prior meeting, then we would meet on the 25th. If we feel like we've gone over the budget really well and everybody's comfortable with it, that prior meeting, then it will not be the budget wrap-up meeting on the 25th. And we're shaky early. All right, any questions? All right, great. So we'll be in touch then regarding voting on this budget cap issue. All right, we're a motion to adjourn. Second, third, everyone's done. All right, thank you, Alyssa.
Thank you.
Thanks. Have a good night.
Good night.